Hello, Recon87 and welcome back to Grand Tactician, the Civil War, as we head into the largest clash of the war to date. We have 120,000 Federals have advanced over the river and are up against 85,000 fine Confederates, which will be fairly decisive in terms of the battle for, Northern Virginia, if nothing else. So currently on the field, we've got the first corps of the Army of Shenandoah under Philip Hughes, which he is lurking somewhere. There we go, Major General Philip Hughes, newly promoted to Corps Commander, and of course we've got Joseph E. Johnson on the field as well. There we go, yeah, just shy of 85,000. We will have a second corps under Philip Cook, turning up, I can't remember exactly when, but pretty quickly. I don't know if it tells me here. No, it just says we're marching and we'll join the battle. It's only a few hours, I can't quite remember. There are numerous federal corps, like 4 different armies who are all going to turn up in the field. Again, within a few hours, there's not going to be a huge delay and a huge kind of, forces joining in the second day. Now, this is one thing we've talked about before. So we're on the map of the Bull Run, and we have been given the attack side. So the Federals already control the one defensive point on the map that we're fighting over, and so we have to take the fight to them. Now, I don't know if it is just random or if the general initiative plays into it. So caveat, there may be some game mechanics behind it that I'm just not 100% fully aware of. But it does seem a little out of sorts sometimes. I think when you are clearly either in a defensive or an offensive role. In this one, we're clearly in the defensive, and yet we've been given the kind of the offensive part of this battle. Part of it may be, I can't remember if I had my army set to do to defensive on the overall map. So maybe that plays into it as well. So there's a few things which I'm not going to say is purely on the fault of the game, but it does feel a little bit odd in that the Federals have invaded Virginia, but for one reason we are the one trying to take the point from them. Because in gameplay it just means that it puts the emphasis on us to come and assault their lines. On the positive side, it's only worth 1 point, so it's not going to tick up very fast. So we have lots of time, and I suspect this battle is going to be decided by casualties more than it is decided by season points. And I really don't want to get to a position where I've got to attack Union earthworks when I'm outnumbered. But there we go. This is the best armies that we have. They're the best equipped, best trained. We've got some crack units in here. There's a few 4-star brigades. We should, if we cannot win this fight, then that does not bode well for the war. So current plan, well, I'm going to take the first corps here up. I'm going to get north of the river before any more Federals get in the field, and then we've got our cavalry is out scouting in front under Garnett, so we've put them on the actual scouting role, so they'll put a bit like skirmishers infantry, small number of mounted scouts in front, and they should be on evade as well, because I don't want them to engage. We'll go up here, take a position, and we'll just have a look at what's going around. Now our second corps is going to turn up on the western flank here, so we'll have to see really where the Federals are taking position for best determining how they're going to advance and get in the fight, because we're going to be fairly separate to begin with. So without further ado, what we'll do is I'll put a cut in here and we'll march forward, and then I'll either get in position or we'll bump into some Federals and I'll bring you back then. Okay, we're about 3 hours into the battle now. We've got the bulk of our forces, or the first corps enemy, over the Bull Run without incident, and our cavalry are taking this position up on a little hill just to do a little bit of scouting for us. We did see Banks Raiders, about 25,000 Federal infantry, arrive on the map, and they seem to come in at this point, and it looks like they've gone to reinforce the objective. I am conscious there's a couple of Union reinforcement points on this very edge of the map, so I'm tempted to try and get myself in a position where I might be able to actually interdict the forces that are arriving from these directions. It could be pretty dangerous if we end up kind of trapped between 2 Union forces, but hopefully we can set ourselves up so if someone does turn up here, we can engage with them with ideally our numerically superior force and deal a fairly heavy blow to the Union forces. So with that in mind, we've got our, if you just go right the way up to Johnson, I'm going to ask my infantry to kind of just push across this open plains, essentially, get ourselves set up upon the Warrington Turnpike, just giving Centreville a little bit more space on my right flank there, just in case the Federals turn up while we're busy marching, acknowledging it's going to take my lads a little bit of time once we arrive to get over the kind of cohesion impact which we suffer when we are marching. And likewise, I'm going to get my cavalry, which I'm really just using as scouts at the minute, up onto the Braddock Road, again onto a little bit of a hill, just to kind of overlook both into the Union rear and to potentially act as a blocking force if we want to hold up some Union just long enough to get our infantry engaged. But we'll see. I need to be careful not to throw these gents' lives away. My cavalry, it's not terribly poorly equipped. Or it's reasonably equipped, maybe a better way of saying that. So we've got one of our, it's just a scouting detachment, but one of the 2,000 odd troops here with carbines. One still, unfortunately, just has mixed cavalry weapons, which, as we've seen and as was commented by, I've forgotten my name, is a fairly inefficient weapon. And yeah, another set of carbines. So reasonable long-range carbine fire, not the greatest cavalry weapon in terms of Civil War, but darn sight better than those mixed cavalry weapons. So they can certainly put up a little bit of a fight at short range, but not against overwhelming odds and not for too long. But that's the kind of state of affair as is. And so we continue to push up. Again, we'll probably spend most of the morning just manoeuvring, which, as I said previously, I think is a really interesting aspect of this battle about kind of choosing how you're going to engage in the fight. And yeah, and maybe we'll kind of set ourselves up to try and get some eyes on the Federal positions, potentially set ourselves up for a bit of a, not an ambush, but a push against Federal reserves coming in via Centreville, or potentially this northeastern pocket as well, and meanwhile waiting for our own reinforcements to come up on this side of the map. So that's current state of affairs. I will bring you fine ladies and gentlemen back when we get to the next stage. Okay, another 40 minutes or so passed as if we're still getting ourselves in position, but we've spotted a few Federals. So first of all, this is where Banks Raiders, that's kind of, I think it was 25,000 infantry and a few other bits and pieces. In fact, this will tell me if I look at the consolidated reports of the Union, please. Strength. Slight bug there. Anyway, Banks Raiders. So yes, that's what, about 30,000 men, and we've just been told that I think it's this one here, which we can't quite see, has arrived as well. So it's another kind of 25,000. So about 50,000 Federals. That's this force just turning up in the corner over here. We've got 50,000 Federals just in this little section. So that's about half their army ish. So again, we don't want to be too overly aggressive. I'm certainly not going to try and make a push and attack Banks' exposed flank here, mainly because he's about to have it reinforced, but also because my army isn't going to be no state for attacking. Again, I might set myself just to see if they are going to get some reinforcements for Centreville. That'll be a nice little kind of bonus we can jump on, but perhaps they won't, and perhaps we'll be able to reinforce quickly enough that won't make it worthwhile. But I'm really nervous about sending these guys into battle too soon. So if you can check our own troops down here, for example, you see they're really kind of disrupted cohesion, which does impact their ability to fight, as well as their kind of willingness to stay in the fight as well. In terms of good news, we have Coke here has arrived. He's still getting his troops on. He's only got 30,000 on yet, but we'll have another 40,000 on soon. I think I'm going to push them up initially just towards Matthews Hill, just to kind of get a scout of a lay of the land and to see what we can see. Potentially we could actually swing our engagement. Again, it depends on where we find the Federal forces. If we find they really end up with quite a tight and powerful defensive line in this neck of the woods, then potentially we could try and attack on their opposite flank with Coke and just have utilize Hughes here as a fixing force. But we shall see. Many options open. I'm not fixed to anyone at the minute. We're still in that. Let's see where the pieces fall. Okay, so that's where we are. And again, I'll just jump forward because all it is what me staring at a map and watching lovely pretty red squares move around the place. Okay, we've advanced another couple of hours, and you see we're all the way up on the Warrington Turnpike. There was one small federal brigade did think about walking down the road towards Centreville, but changed its mind, which is fair enough. But I've just had some scouting reports, and it's providing a really interesting opportunity. So as you can see, I think it's Anderson's division here has reportedly seen some infantry, some federal infantry and the federal battery of artillery behind some earthworks, facing the Balls and Lewis Ford. Now, given we know there's a good chunk of their army up here, and presumably there's some defending this line, I wonder if they've got a smaller portion of their forces down here defending these fords, or if they've taken a big defensive line against all the fords, they might kind of spring up along something like that. Either way, I think this could give us an opportunity to isolate and engage a smaller section of federal forces. We've got Cook's men are, coming in towards Matthews Hill here. Again, so they're going to provide that threat to the front to hopefully kind of fix whatever forces are here. We're going to have two of our infantry divisions and our artillery and our cavalry are going to stay focused around Centreville. Again, fairly defensive positionings just to try and threaten the federal forces up here and to be able to put up a fight if the Federals do try and advance upon us. Meanwhile, I'm going to take the infantry divisions under Anderson and McCulloch to go and inspect this area a little bit closer. But we can probably just potentially stay on camera as we do that. We've got up to 20 speed. As we can see, we shuffle our forces around, because they seem fairly exposed. They can't have that many reinforcements nearby. That's just our cavalry. We assume their scouting position. They left it for reasons. Oh, and Requin's men have actually taken up position within the houses themselves. Cool. You guys coming down the road? They're not sure what they're doing, to be perfectly honest, but hey, if they want to stand there, that's okay. Okay, hello, hello, hello. So this looks to be one of the federal armies. Oh, that's a big brigade. Some pretty big brigades in here. The defences are facing the wrong way. Also means I assume this point is currently undefended. All their forces are arrayed. Now my concern is under these two divisions, so we've got about 20,000 men, or 15,000 men, probably aren't enough to get the job done. Oh, looks like we've got a Union rider. I wonder what their orders might be. Because I think they're going to pull back, and certainly by the end of the day they're going to pull back. Now this isn't a great, obviously trying to cross these fords would be a pretty unforgiving task. But this may be an opportunity to inflict a little bit of discomfort upon the Federals. The other thing we could do is again around this manoeuvre warfare, completely abandon this position, pull our troops back along the Warrington Pike, and up the road here to secure the point of the unfinished railroad. We will then, I mean, this is dangerous because we'll be between, all the federal positions, probably too dangerous to be perfectly honest. Again, perhaps what I want to do is pull my infantry and artillery over this way and just do a concerted effort against this one section of the federal forces. Are you guys moving? You are, just slowly. Now, what kind of weaponry you guys got? Yeah, rifle muskets. Just muskets there under Adams. Rifle muskets. Rifle muskets. Okay, so you guys are well equipped. So we could kick things off with a little bit of a skirmish. Force them to respond as we make a decision. Question is, what is that decision going to be? How many are we facing here? 5, 8. What's that, about 10, 12, I don't know, 14, some rounding on here. Seems to be about 14,000 infantry that we can see. Probably a couple more back here. Oh, it's a good... That's probably too good an opportunity to give up. Yeah, okay, so I think here's what we're going to do. We're going to pull all our forces from Centreville out. We're not going to make a push all the way up the point because I think that's a folly. But we'll take one of our divisions and our cavalry to put a kind of defensive line along this riverbed and blocking the road, just to essentially buy us time if the Federals try and reinforce in numbers, and turn most of our forces in against this Federal position here. We don't have a lot of daylight left, so my concern is we'll do all this wonderful positioning, and then through just the way game mechanics work, they will just pull everyone out overnight if we don't encircle them. I think that's the better plan. So with that in mind, let us pull our forces over in this direction. Our artillery is probably going to be fairly useless until we can get them a bit further forward. So let's start by just bringing them, probably just this open field for just now. Long term, I think we'll try and get them out on this ridge line, sort of wood line. That'll help. I know you're doing lots of marching for me, Walton. Let's say you're going to become a bit of a blocking force up here. We'll finesse it later on. Recon, I want to bring you in towards the fight, probably in about here in front of our cannons. And Garnet, who has been doing a wonderful job with scouting. First thing I'll do is pull you back here, and I'll maybe do it in 2 movements, just to make sure you don't go the wrong way. Okay. So these guys are now starting to get a little bit nervous. I'd like to try and take this advanced line on the fence. Yeah, I'll just do your division kind of manually. Let's keep going. Looks like they might be trying to pull out. Although, where are you going? Because that is not in the towards your own lines. It will open up. Oh god, and they're coming in force now. Presumably we have now left these buildings. Yeah, that's fine. So again, we'll need a bit of a blocker along here because I think they are going to respond now that we have engaged. But that's okay. Does advance? Oh, you're the one people with muskets. You're the worst people to advance. Let's go advance into the tree line. Let's see if we can't fix some of these forces in place, because they're putting a big defensive line for my 2nd Corps. That will allow us to get in behind them, and we're going to have to respond by pulling all these troops over. Yeah, just get forward, please. If and you can. McCulloch, you need to be coming essentially in behind, and we'll feed you in as required. We want to be able to stop them retreating. Some of them are going to get caught. And I'm going to put in some serious rearguard actions over here, I think. Which probably is going to be the job of Requin to kind of block along this main road. Let's have you, I know you're coming in behind to support, but I think we're going to have you facing in this direction. As we try and squeeze in against the Federals a little bit. Okay. How are you guys getting on? Real slowly. What I'd like to do is set your artillery up essentially along this ridge line. That would be ideal. Where is your artillery corps? Probably going the wrong way. Let me, or not corps, but division. Let me find it. I can't remember who's in charge of your artillery. Well, I'll tell you what, find an artillery unit. Here we go. Take me to your commander, Barksdale. So honestly, having you set up somewhere up on this ridgeline where you can do some bombarding onto these heavily concentrated Union positions would be pretty ideal. Something along those lines. Johnson, you're going to have to come in and support your artillery, obviously. Do your men have rifled muskets? Because they're going to need them. Oh, you're my cavalry. So in which case, let's get you to come around the south flank. That's Bragg, you're under that same one. You good sir. And you have rifle muskets. Frost. Frost, I have a job for you. Please make way over here, and again we'll finesse your positions as and when. Okay. Alright, give me a minute while I deal with those noises. Okay. Let's push forward a little bit, see if we can't get some action kicked off this evening. Or this afternoon, I should say. Nothing else. Do you want to attack that cavalry, or artillery, sorry? There's not take defensive lines along this fence line, which is a very good position for them to take, so credit to the AI for switching their defensive lines like that. So what do I have to worry about? Well, they seem to be funneling all their reserves down this way. So the question is, what am I going to do with this division up here? Oh, it makes muskets. That's not a sight you want to see. Under Pickett. Now, we've got two options. One, we can come over and face up here, potentially face up against Poplar Ford. The other one is we could cross at Sudley Spring and try and come round. I feel that's very exposed, is my only concern. So I think I'm going to have this division head over in this direction. Barksdale's with the artillery. Frost is defending my artillery. Price. I think Price we want to come down at Lewis Ford as well. And Albert Johnson is probably going to face off against Farm Ford, but I'm conscious this might not be best use of your men. And you should already be heading south with cavalry. Good man. Tempted to take a position in their own earthworks. Shoot down upon them. I don't get too ahead of my rest of my army though. We're struggling a little bit for congestion. These horses need to come north. I'm going to take your job off scouting for just now. And I want you to come up in this direction. Thank you. Yeah, they're too close to the lines. Halt. Just advance to this position. See if we can kick the hornet's nest a little bit. I don't want to. Time is a little bit on my side here because I'm still waiting for all these troops to funnel in. Okay. Alright, let's kick speed up a little bit. So ideally, if we can get to the enemy's position, I'm going to drop a defensive line along this side of the river and kind of invite those 50,000 Federals to come and have a go. I'm sorry, did you cross the river? That's an interesting position for you to take there, 3rd Brigade. Okay. One I'll have to be wary of as I put my artillery and my troops into that position. Got a good defensive line along this fence row. One we can certainly deal with. The guns open up. So we're not necessarily attacking where we thought we'd be, but we are definitely attacking. Now, where are you going? Yeah, just to there, that's fine. Yeah, I would quite like you in this kind of position. If you could, please, you're a little bit exposed. Have to get some support down to your flanks. It is coming. Fear not. Swing McCulloch's whole division down to this kind of position here. We're just going to try and squeeze this end of the Federal line, I think, although they're quite thickly stacked up. Where I say what I wouldn't give to have my artillery deployed. But they're currently chewed up upon the road. Oh, are you heading in this direction? Perhaps. Let's bring Stuart's cavalry down to support. Make sure these guys don't feel that they're out here on their own. Alright, sorry, I put a quick cut in there. Nothing has really changed. I didn't advance time. Yes, we're still trying to encircle the Federals here. They're putting out a little bit of skirmishers. Presumably we'll deal with those, albeit with, let's just slow down to play for just now, disproportionate casualties, because skirmishers, why didn't I do my own? That's a very good point. Certainly let's do it here. Pick out some skirmishers, please. Okay, I'm also going to push across the ford here with Johnson's division. Again, just to threaten this southern flank. Oh, it looks like they're responding and trying to run away. Although they're doubling down up here, which does give us an opportunity to kind of close this gap, if you will, with, well, actually, with Mackintosh's brigade. We'll have to watch these cavalry in our rear. I could take Walton here. Less of a roadblock and just actually turn them round to be a northern thrust, like so. That's very tempting. And essentially we'd have this whole Union force wrapped up. Now, we still got to overcome it, and we're going to have a very large number of angry Federals knocking on our rear, as you were. But that's not a terrible situation. I would like you to come up onto this hill, please. I think we're in a great position to put a lot of pressure on these two lines. You're almost in position. I'm going to have you come all the way down here. The view to maybe sealing up that section of our lines. Okay. I dare say they're probably going to get the better of this just early skirmishing, just because they've got a lot more numbers involved at the minute. I think this should work out in our favour. let's have you push in this flank. Again, make sure our boys feel supported. As far as away as my artillery, slowly getting there. Getting you guys are pushing in, excellent. You guys do have carbines, so why don't you dismount, please? This is quite a short range fight, and see if you can't get involved. Help out here on foot. Well, I'm hopeful we are winning this detaching fight. I suspect the casualties are not quite in our favour. No, not really, but it's all very, very low numbers thus far. Okay, right, everyone keeps moving this direction. This is good. You guys are now across the ford. Excellent. We've got our infantry here moving into a kind of blocking position. That's probably a little bit too far in front, to be honest. Let's get you to do this of an advance order, and let's have our cavalry, and I don't want to use them in permanent because I would quite like them to kind of help guard our flanks. But let's have them come around this direction just to make sure these Union boys are not going to escape. Alright, I would like you to move right up here on their flanks. Give them a good old scare. Those cavalry are really poorly equipped though, so they're not going to put up too much of a fight, but they should at least get in the way. Honestly, I'm tempted to give these guys just an order to engage this first barrier. Well, maybe not you, but certainly with these carbines. There we go. But why don't you come in and just shoot up this cavalry while it's on the move, and infantry is moving into support. Silence for Union guns before they really get started. Oh, it's an interesting one. Right, well, I think we'll run to the end of the first day in this video, but I need to put a quick cut in, so I'll not pause any time, but there might be a slight jump in commentary. Hey, so I did actually come back and record the rest of that day one in one sitting. It did take another 35 minutes, I think, so rather than post a video that's 1 hour and something minutes long, I'm going to chop this one into 2 smaller ones. I'll push them out 2 days in a row so you can still consume it in rapid order, but yeah, I didn't want to post out a mammoth video, so contradicting myself slightly there. But yeah, so hope that's okay, hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheerio!